The Daily Dribble.
Welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here back, fit and firing on a Friday night. Joining me is Mr. Liam Hancock.
Good on, guys. Are you?
And Mr. Rui Hancock.
How are we going, guys?
Gentlemen, what a week it's been.
As always.
It's been an action-packed week, to say the least. Coming with that is another huge episode this week. Off the back of doing our two-part series last week, going through our mid-season kind of reviews for both the East and the Western Conference, we're back this week to discuss some of the players we think are on the hottest seat heading into the second half of the season and the playoffs.
Yes.
It's not a position you want to find yourself in, I don't think.
No, it's
in the run home.
I don't think on the hot seat, in the under pressure.
Under pressure.
Because one of my players isn't on the hot seat by any means. He's just under a lot of pressure.
Under pressure. Great song by none other than John Farnham.
You guys familiar with that rendition, Nick?
Oh, I could. I don't know if I've got it on me today, but I'll save that for a later date. You pull me back up.
You get that cider down, and
we'll get back to you. Okay. Guys, a big shout out to both the Cover and Stadium, seeing those two networks doing tremendous things for not only us, but many other content creators out there. It was great last week for our NBL show dropping on, it was Tuesday night. I actually jumped on with the lads from the Fifth and Dribble, another one of the Cover kind of part of that podcast network.
Yes.
It was great to chat everything NBA and NBL with both Matty B and Locke there. So be sure to check that one out, guys, if you haven't already. Let's get into it, though, guys. A big episode in store. Got some quick odds and ends to start with here.
Go for it.
Now, I want to tie this. So Kristaps Porzingis is set to miss 2 weeks with a left ankle sprain. He's averaging 22 points, 9 rebounds this season. Certainly going to make a push for the plane very, very difficult from here for the Wizards, wouldn't you think, Lee?
I think so, but at the end of the day, they're not contenders. It only matters if they're contending, in my opinion. What they get in the playoffs, their first round exit. So,
what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah.
Do you think though, like if in an ideal world, I'm kind of trying to create a bit of a pretty picture here of the Wizards.
Yes.
If Porzingis is healthy, Bill coming back starts to find a little more form heading into a playoff scenario, Kuz fit and firing. Is there a world in which they could cause some of these teams in the upper echelon of the East some headaches? Or you just think, no, they're not there? They're
probably not there just yet. And you look at the teams above them and they've probably got a bit more well-rounded teams, probably higher end talent. But just speaking of Porzingis, probably having one of, if not his best career today.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think so too. And his ability to shoot the three ball really become a quality stretch five. I think he's showing that form that we all thought, when he went to New York, he was kind of being hailed as that unicorn type player, that kind of one of a kind. And
yes.
Granted, I don't think he's one of a kind at the moment, but he's certainly, I think, playing the best ball of his young career.
Yep. He's reaching his potential to a certain extent, which is really good to see.
Well, another player set for a sideline stint is Steven Adams of the Memphis Grizzlies.
A bit longer.
Set to miss 3 to 5 weeks after suffering a PCL sprain in his right knee there. This will see greatly increased responsibility for Xavier Tillman, Brandon Clark there. I guess the silver lining for the Grizz at the moment, it's not going to be a really long-term injury. And the fact that they've got themselves into a really healthy, comfortable position at the moment, should they drop a few games, it's certainly not going to be the end of the world. No. They've just built a nice little buffer there themselves in Denver at the top of the West there.
It's not that I was just going to say, not that I think they'll dip off dramatically, but I think Steven Adams is a bit underrated on whatever team he's on. And I've said this, I think I even said it last podcast.
You might have mentioned it last week.
Yeah, he's always that big brother to whoever. It's usually a point guard or a shooting guard.
And yet he's still so young.
And he's still, I don't know how young
deceivingly young.
It's incredible.
How old is he?
He might be 28.
28, I think, but it feels like, you remember him when his OKC days. That feels like an eternity ago. He just feels like he's been in the league a very, very long time.
Do you reckon if you put Stevie Adams and myself in a split screen with one another, same age?
Mate,
and be careful with your answer.
No, I tell you what, I certainly think Stevie looks considerably older than you.
Yes, I would have thought so.
But it's correct. Like those players, I'm 24, but 21, 22, 23-year-old, They like I see pictures of them and they all look miles ahead of me in terms of beard growth, in terms of muscle development.
I mean,
it's not a
Jalen
big feat.
Duran, how old is he? Like 19, and he looks like Hulk.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's just a testament to good growth hormones there.
Yes.
Fair play.
Big
Let's
boys.
speak about the Lakers for a moment here, lads, because they've had an interesting week to say the least.
When don't they have an interesting week?
Well, it's
for one reason or another.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's like a never-ending roller coaster at the moment. But the roller coaster is going up at the moment. They've signed Rui Hachimura from the Wizards. The deal was as follows: the Lakers receiving Rui, and the Wizards receiving Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks there. I think for Lakers fans and myself, I certainly feel happy about this. Despite playing more minutes lately, Kendrick Nunn was never really a contributing factor.
No.
Although, did you see the highlights from his Wizards debut? Couple of big dunks there. He looked like a new player.
Where was that Kendrick Nunn?
It's always the way, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's always
new
the way.
scenery. Bound to happen.
But I thought, Rui is a really good pickup. Over the last 2 seasons, shooting 41% on catch and shoot threes, an area the Lakers really need to address. So far this season, struggling a little bit more from 3, but the other day in their matchup against the Spurs, his debut there, great to see AD return as well in that one.
Came back with a bang.
Big double-double there. But Rui, I thought, looked quite solid, and I think he'll certainly be a positive contributor to the team.
I just hope the Lakers don't think, okay, you're in our team now, you're expected to go out and get this many points, or you're expected to hit near on every shot you take. Because that's one of the things with the Lakers I've noticed. I haven't seen much media about it, but they're not a great player developmental team.
Oh, no, they're garbage.
You look at I mean, not that I think Kendrick Nunn's going to go on a tear over at the Wizards, but
no, that'd be so sick if you just all these players who turn into lights out players.
Yeah, but like Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram,
Kuz.
Jordan Clarkson, Kuz, all these players leave and they become better. I'm scared that he'll be expected too much. I just hope they give him a bit of time to develop over in LA.
No, I'm saying piss that off pretty quickly. It's now or never. It's time for that play and push.
I mean, if there's too much pressure, talk about pressure. Is Rui one of your pressure players?
No, he's not. He's not. He's not gone that far yet.
You can't put the pressure on him from get-go, in my opinion.
Okay, we've got very contrasting opinions. Yeah. But let's talk a little more Lakers trade talk just real quickly here. According to Zach Lowe and Bobby Marks, the Bulls, shout out to Apex, because I know we spoke about a couple of Bulls trades in conjunction with the Lakers the other week. The Bulls would accept Russell Westbrook, the Lakers' 2027 and 2029 first-round pick in exchange for Zach LaVine. Hypothetical trade, if it all were to go through. How do you find this one for both franchises, lads?
I saw this the other day as well, and I thought it was interesting because obviously Zach LaVine's a better shooter on his day than Russell Westbrook, which is probably ideally what the Lakers need at this point. But I don't know if I'm the Lakers if I would take that in a heartbeat, to be honest with you.
If you do this, you've got zero assets left. In terms of draft capital, you've got squat.
What else are they supposed to do?
You got rid of your 3 picks just there for Rui, and you're getting rid of your 2 prized first-round picks.
I did think on Rui 3 was a bit too much. They're second rounders, but give him 2 for Rui.
I just think with Russell Westbrook, yes, he's had some stinkers, but he's also probably the leading 6th man of the year candidate at the moment. So it's not like you're getting rid of an absolute bum. And, Zach LaVine's season hasn't been anything to write home about either. No. So if I was the Lakers, I probably would consider other options that are put out there. Yep. But at the same time, can you be too fussy if you're the Lakers? Are you at the point now where you just sort of have to take the best available offer? And what's your thoughts?
To be honest, what I was thinking with this one, if it were to go ahead, I think it would have to be Russ and one of the picks.
Yeah, not both.
If you give away both, then you've really hamstrung yourself to this squad. Moving forward, there's very little flexibility bar just player for player trades.
Yep.
I would be happy to offer, say, the 2029. Keep the 2027 because I know that's the more highly rated pick. Because again, I agree with you, Ro. I think Westbrook, for all his faults, and goddamn, that man shot a lot of bricks this week. the quintessential bricklayer he is. I I think if you're giving away both those assets, it really leaves you in a vulnerable position for the next couple of years.
And they're already in a vulnerable position as it is. So,
Lee, would you agree with that, or do you think just send it?
I think just send it, but I don't know if it's for Zach LaVine. I like the Bulls trade where they were getting DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic. I know you'd have to give up a fair bit, and I think Kendrick Nunn might have had to be a piece in that.
Still got Wenyan Gabriel.
Yeah,
I actually had a good week. Oh, Wenyan.
Yep,
but
where credit's due.
I mean, Zach LaVine would improve their offense dramatically.
Yeah.
It's almost put all the cards on the tables at this point, in my opinion.
Lay it down, he says. Well, a little more Lakers talk because I'm so enamored with the Lakers.
Far out.
After dropping 46 points versus the Clippers earlier in the week, that was on Wednesday, that game. LeBron James, he just sets records on a night-to-night basis, became the first player in NBA history to record at least 40 points against all 30 NBA teams. What a phenomenal achievement. Now, do you guys know there's one player in the league, I'm not sure if you saw it or not, there's one player who's currently on 29. Do you know who this player is?
40.
To join LeBron there.
JH?
Yeah, you're spot on. James Harden there. But I tell you what, LeBron, we say it week in, week out. Honestly, aging like a fine wine. Just another incredible milestone, incredible record to attach to his name. Very, very quickly approaching the all-time scoring record. I think we're, $150 away?
Yeah, we're not too far away at all. Geez, what a monumental occasion that'll be.
Incredible, isn't it? Like
literally every time I see LeBron have one of these games, what was it, like 48?
46.
46 and like 8 and 7. I'm like, how? Like, there's not a game that passes where I'm like, how is he still doing this?
Yeah.
Well, the other week on that show I spoke about momentarily ago with the lads from the Fifth and Dribble, we each did some really bold predictions that we see playing out for the back half of the NBA season. Matty B put forth an outrageous one. He thinks that LeBron, before the season's out, is going to have a 65-point game.
65.
I was like, holy shit.
I wouldn't put it past it.
65.
The thing with LeBron, isn't it, though? Like, he's capable of doing that, no doubt. But
he set a career high in threes the other day, too, with 9.
Did he really? Yeah. There you go. He's capable of doing that, but, like, he's also, it's not his game style, is it? Like, he's a very, like, pass, even though he's about to, it's ridiculous because he's about to become the all-time leading scorer in the NBA, but he's very much a pass first type operator as well. But if he wanted 65, he could probably have it, to be perfectly honest. It just depends if there comes a game where he's like, I'm putting my head down and I'm, going for a big 60 bucket. I'd love to see it.
I love it. Well, tying in with LeBron here, lads, for the first time ever, the All-Star draft is going to take place on the same day as the actual All-Star game.
I love this.
You enjoy this?
Yeah, it really doesn't give them any time to.
No. It really makes it that schoolyard kind of equation where you've got two teams line up, pick the players out. It's I'm a huge fan of it. Lee, do you like it? Doing it the same day, really giving it, that kind of intensified feel, if you will.
I'm excited for it. I do like when they all come out, they rise on the podium together and start dancing together. So I hope that's still a thing. But
apart feeling if you're one of the the last or second last one picked, isn't it? You're kind of standing there like a shag on a rock.
I think it would be, but at the same time, I feel like that player might be coming into the game with a bit more raw emotion, thinking, geez, I've just been shafted here and I'm coming in and showing them why I should have been picked a bit higher. But absolutely. I like that. And I think particularly with the All-Star weekend, the NBA have to continue to find ways to innovate and continue to find ways to mix it up, because I think as NBA fans, when we see, I guess I speak for myself, but I think I speak for a lot of others, when you see some like new aspects to the weekend that you haven't seen before, fresh aspects, I think it's a really good thing, and it keeps people interested, and you're not just expecting the same thing year in, year out, which can become boring.
Time to piss off, I think, the dunk contest, given the players that they've got, unless they really revert it back to the old school, quality dunkers. I don't want G League players. Bring in the 1v1s.
1v1s would be incredible.
1v1s would be sick. But
did you hear what Spencer Dinwiddie said throughout the week about the 1v1s?
What did Spence have to say?
Spence Dinwiddie wasn't a fan of it at all, I don't think, because he was more or less saying that with the one-on-ones, what will happen is it might be, for example, Spencer Dinwiddie versus Tim Hardaway Jr. What an underwhelming one-on-one that would be. But
I'd
this
be
is my
for that.
example.
Given his performance today,
No.
earlier today, let's make it happen.
I just want to see some more established stars, I guess. But just imagine, hypothetically, Tim Hardaway Jr. gets up.
Yep.
Now there's people saying, oh, it's Tim Hardaway Jr. is a better player
Yeah,
overall
I'm with
than
you.
Spencer Dinwiddie. And I don't think Spence was a huge fan of that. And to a certain extent, I can see where he's coming from. But I think if you had the elite stars and superstars of the competition lining up to play, I reckon that would be something to behold. I'd love to see it.
There you go.
Thing is, they wouldn't. The superstars, they
yeah,
wouldn't.
it's like the dunk contest.
Yeah.
That's why we got G League players, because there's the risk versus reward. It's out of balance there. So
God, that's so embarrassing that you've got a G League player in the dunk.
I tell you what,
NBA
if Matt
dunk
McClung
contest.
wins it, look out. There you go. Lads, today, though, we did have announced our All-Star starters pool.
Yeah, give it to us.
Oh, here we go. From the Eastern Conference, we've got Kevin Durant,
Hey.
Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, and your captain from the East is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Like
Big
that.
break.
There you go. There's the East.
A few snubs. But
Yeah.
A
that's
few
okay.
snubs. That's always bound to happen.
Mhm.
Transitioning to the West, we've got the chef, Steph Curry.
Yep.
Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Zion Williamson, and your captain, the 19-time All-Star, LeBron James.
How many times have you been a captain, old LBJ?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. 19. Isn't that outrageous?
That's ridiculous, isn't
the
it?
19-time All-Star, and he's only getting better.
That's
If-
unbelievable.
What a phenomenal achievement as well next year. Like, undoubtedly, I think he'll make it once again a 20-time All-Star. Incredible.
It
Okay,
just doesn't sound right, does it?
You get the first pick. Who are you picking?
Well, given
Oh,
KD's injured,
I'd
I
be
reckon you got
taking.
to go Jokic.
I was about to say, I'd take Joker. Yep.
Yeah. Lee, for you?
I go the excitement route. So
Granted, though, it depends. If you're Giannis, would you take Jokic still?
That's a good point, actually.
I'm taking Luka.
Yeah, I reckon if you're Giannis, you take a Luka. If you're LeBron, you probably take Jokic.
Okay. In the same vein, who are you taking last out of that starter pool?
I'll probably take Kyrie last.
Yeah, probably Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell. Yeah, I think. Yeah,
But that just speaks volumes to how good the quality is in that that
when
pool
you're
this
taking
year.
those
But,
last.
phenomenal stuff there. We'll be sure to keep you guys posted. NBA All-Star Weekend coming up in a couple of weeks' time. The fallout from all that, I know we're all certainly looking forward to it. For us, it's nice, kind of a bit of a chance to kind of unwind.
Rejuvenate yourself.
You know, we've got a plethora of games going in day in and day out. So it's nice to have that little bit of a break, a couple of days of All-Star Weekend festivities, and then put in a final push towards the playoffs.
Very keen for it.
Lads, let's move ahead.
Daily Dribble.
Very good. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've already, like, I spoke to you, Ro, just behind the scenes of the podcast. I've already done the title and the type up for this show.
Good boy. That's what we want.
So I need to almost slide in what I've called it into this segment. So we've given it which players are most under pressure for the second half of the season. I've given it one of my favorites in the title. Diamonds are made under pressure.
You got it.
I say it week in, week out.
Pull the string on the back.
Yeah,
there we go.
On the back. I absolutely love it. These little quotes. That's certainly one of my favorites. So it's made the title. There you go.
Do you know what? That's like saying, it's like when you go to watch a movie and they say the title of the movie in the movie, and you're like,
100%.
Is that just me or like?
No, I'm with you. I'm absolutely
when
with
they
you.
say the movie title of the show?
In the movie, you're
I'm
like,
trying to think of
The
what's
first time they ever said, "We are the Walking Dead," I was like,
oh,
I haven't seen The Walking Dead, but I'll trust you on that one.
trust me.
What's another one, bro? Because you've now got that stuck in my head. Like
I guess Wolf of Wall Street, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good movie.
What did
that.
they say?
Wolf of Wall Street.
You haven't got the quote. I had the quote ready.
I don't know specifically what he said, but
I don't think he said it.
I think he did. I think he did.
Like, because there was like a news article, wasn't it? And they were saying, "Oh, and you've been dubbed the Wolf of Wall Street."
True.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
Good movie. Watched it far too many times. Long movie, though.
Fun
movie.
movie.
Good book, though.
Yep.
So what we've got here, guys, we've got two players each that we think or feel going to be under pressure heading into the back half of the season, into the playoffs. As always, say it week in, week out. Let us know what you thought about our selections, who you would have had instead. Hit us up on the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. Always willing and up and about for any basketball conversation with you guys. Again, another week having some great conversations. So keep them coming. We love it.
So.
We love talking ball. That's why we do it week in and week out, don't we, lads?
Absolutely. Do you want me to get started?
Right on.
I've just been proactive today.
Good,
I'm
good.
getting it started. Now, player under pressure. My first player under pressure. Now, everyone, well, I love Ja Morant as much as any other player in the league. I think he's one of the most exciting players in the league today, and he's just absolute box office every time you switch on a Grizzlies game.
Absolutely.
As much as I love Ja, there is absolutely no doubt that after that interview with Malika Andrews, where he said that, essentially he said that he doesn't have a problem with any other team in the West in the run home. He thinks the Grizzlies are going to have them covered. I think that Ja does have a pretty significant target on his back. And as a result, I think the Grizzlies overall have a pretty significant target on their back. I guess we know, in regards to Ja, we know from a box score perspective what we're getting on any given night. And we've sort of just come to expect it. And it's always a big box score. But it's going to be interesting in the run home if that actually equates to the Grizzlies retaining home court advantage by the time the playoffs roll around. And if and when they do make the playoffs, which they will, it'll be interesting to see what kind of noise they make, because if the Grizzlies come into the playoffs and they're knocked out in the first round or second round, we don't want Ja Morant to become one of these players who are renowned for talking the talk but not walking the walk.
Absolutely.
And the risk is now there of Ja Morant becoming one of those players. He's got a lot riding on those comments. And as I said, I love Ja Morant. To be honest, I love the comment. I love the confidence from him. But at the same time, there's a bit of me going, geez, all eyes are on you now. And I think the Grizzlies have a lot of expectations come these playoffs. So watch out, Ja Morant.
I didn't think I like this one. It does put a big target on him and the Grizzlies as a whole, just purely for the fact of that comment and the fact that arguably up there with Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks is probably the most hated man within the league. You could make a pretty comfortable case for.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks, for sure.
He's a goddamn pest, that guy.
Yes. But he loves it as well.
He loves it. It's like Trae Young embracing that villain role. I'm all for it.
Didn't even talk about him and Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, well, no.
Yeah, far out. It almost seemed too long ago, but it was within the last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was.
On the Ja point, though, I tell you what, and it feels like this Grizzlies team, they've been hovering around the periphery the last couple of seasons. For myself, I've started to become a little bit more of a believer this year. But there is, even despite their young age, their young core, he's kind of just, there wasn't that much pressure on them yet.
Yes.
He has just lumped it all upon his shoulders.
It was that single comment, I think, that put the pressure on him. It's hard because I think they're going to cop flack if they get a first or second round exit. But it's weird because in saying that, I would be surprised if they got to the Western Conference Finals.
So would I. And it
That's
comes
the
back to
tricky
what we
thing.
said last week. I still think they're a piece away. I'm with you, Lee.
This is exactly why there's a lot of pressure, because I think now people are thinking, oh, geez, I don't know if Memphis can even get to the Western Conference Finals, let alone the finals.
Like for me, I think of it, I kind of put myself in those shoes of a sporting sense. If I heard a player like, I'm a soccer player, if I heard an opposition rival on a different team saying something like that, when you're going to run through the league this year, tell you what, first play of the game, I'm going to make a beeline for you. Like, I'll let you know what's up real quickly.
Exactly right.
And I reckon a lot of players out there, there's a lot of pride in that Western Conference, a lot of top tier talent, and for them to, I like what Ja said, but to almost be disrespected like that, I reckon they'll come out with a bit of intent. So.
And I mean, there's already been teams and players, particularly the Golden State Warriors, and we're talking about Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, who have come out already and have expressed Yeah.
I'm getting
And
scared
happiness.
for the Memphis Grizzlies because there's a very, very fine line between confidence and cocky. And I loved them when they were confident, and then
And
when
you
they
think
were,
they're starting to teeter on the edge a little bit,
I
Lee?
think they're teetering to the standard that the Phoenix Suns are on.
What do you reckon, like this analogy, Jenga? They're kind of about to pull out a brick and it could either make or win them the game or it could have the tower crumble.
I'd say I think that comment by Jar, for as much as I loved it, I think it was a bit overs in my opinion.
Bit overs.
There you have it. Great start, Ro. Lee, what have you got for your first one, pal?
I've got one that I don't think either you would be surprised by. Rudy Gobert.
He was my second. I wish I had a back.
Yeah.
Well, there you
But
go.
we can
That's all
touch
right.
on
We'll tie it both in one there.
They wanted bigger and better, the T-Wolves. They got bigger. Did they get better? Who knows? They went absolutely all out for this. I forgot how much they gave up for this guy. Can I just read off
Please,
what
it
they
was a
get?
bloody
How long
big
we
deal.
got?
Yeah.
So let me just get rid of the guy. I don't even know who he is. Leandro Ballaramo. I don't know who that is. So they
Household name.
they gave away him, but then they gave away Patrick Beverley, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt, and 4 first-round picks. 4 of them.
Hold on.
And one of them was Walker Kessler.
I think this trade's altered the league.
It's altered trading in the league for sure.
It has, because now, it kind of comes back to OG Anunoby, all these other players. There's been a precedent set that a player who's not, a top 10 player, top 20 player within the league is getting 4 first-round picks.
Yeah.
That kind of sets the precedent, doesn't it? And it's just rubbish.
From an offensive point of view, we knew there was going to be an adjustment period, which they are still yet to reach. They're sitting 500, 25 and 25. Without a doubt, the defensive output has increased, especially when Gobert is on the floor, but to nowhere near the extent that anyone thought it was going to increase.
Still got a negative point differential.
Yeah, I know.
They're giving up 115.4 points a game there.
And then Gobert individually, all of his statistical categories have dropped, not by a mile, but I mean, they're still noticeable. Then probably the most concerning thing is that the thing he was best at doing, rim protection, has taken a sharp decline. He's allowing more than 60% of shots at the rim in, and that's the worst in his entire career.
Well, so for both of you then, I'll pose it to both of you because you both had Gobert there, and please add any other comments you had there, Ro. Is it going to be better or worse when Cat comes back into the fold?
It's a great question, Nick. It's
a
great question.
We saw through the first part of the season that they really struggled. They just kind of lacked cohesion. The defense was even worse than it was now, and they just kind of, to be honest, I don't think they played through Edwards enough at that time. But once Cat comes back into the fold, he's a top tier player. He thinks he's the greatest shooting big man in history. But how do we think this will impact the T-Wolves going forward into the latter half of the season? Do you think it'll have a positive or negative impact?
Well, the Wolves, in my opinion, are sort of damned if they do and damned if they don't. From the point of view of when Cat comes back, it doesn't seem like it's a functional team. It seems like those two can't coexist on the team together. But then we've obviously seen when Cat's been out, Rudy Gobert's not enough to be able to lead this team to success. I think they're in a lot of trouble. And I tell you what, for a guy who's earning $205 million, I don't think the Wolves recruiting team would have been anticipating him to bring over career low statistical outputs in multiple categories. I think Lee was mentioning before, there's a few. I'll just read it out. He's averaging the least points per game since the 15-16 season, least rebounds since the 17-18, and the least blocks, which I think is probably the biggest one, given I think that's what they would have been anticipating he'd bring over since his rookie season in 2013, 2014. It's really not good enough for a guy who they've forked out $205 million to lead this team to success, and he's certainly not doing that.
Could this trade be, in a couple of years' time, be looked back upon maybe as one of the worst trades? If you look at what Walker Kessler, despite his young career in the NBA, how he's kind of developing these other draft picks, what else they gave up, could this be looked back on, Lee, do you think, as maybe one of the worst trades in NBA history?
I'm not going to say that yet.
Not yet.
Because I haven't, for as bad as they've been, I haven't lost all hope, to be honest. He hasn't been there for an entire season. He hasn't been there for a long while. Cat's been on the court too. I want to give them some more time, and I want a coaching change as well.
Right, then, to tie a bit of a bow in that Rudy Gobert one then, and we might have spoken about it last week, but we love rehashing everything that we say because a lot of it's gold. So what's the ceiling this year? How far can this team go, do you think? If everything falls to plan, where could they get to?
In my opinion, I think at the absolute ceiling, they could make the playoffs and they get knocked out in the first round.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because if they make the playoffs, I don't see them finishing above the 7th, 8th mark, to be perfectly honest. And if that was the case, they'd be coming up against the Denver Nuggets, who would absolutely destroy them, or at this point, the Memphis Grizzlies, who I think would also hand it to them. So I think that's their absolute ceiling. And at this point, not even confident they'll make the playoffs.
Lee, do you tend to agree with that, or do you think their ceiling's maybe a little bit higher?
Yeah, I agree in saying I think they'll probably make the playoffs, but I think it's a first-round exit.
Yep.
If they were in the Eastern Conference, which I think is a far better conference this year, I'd say they've got no chance.
Yep.
The West, there's a bit more leeway. I think they could make
a bit more unpredictability in the West, maybe.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, Ro, in terms of their ceiling. With one little caveat on that, I think they match up okay against the Grizzlies. If that would have been the series that unfolded, I'm not saying I think they'll win, but I think it would go deep.
Was
6
that
or 7
first round series last season?
Last year, and the and the Wolves were really in a healthy, commanding position. But they had 1 or 2 games where they let slip commanding fourth quarter leads. So I think if that were to play out, it'd go deep. If they faced up against the Nuggets, I think they get steamrolled. So, great one there. Rudy Gobert certainly under a lot of pressure. Now I've done a little cheeky one here. I've done a little cheeky one. I make the rules. I bend the rules. I've gone a 2-player one.
A 2-player one.
It's
little combo deal.
It's 2 for the price of 1. It's Devin Booker / Chris Paul.
Yes, I like this.
D-Book was one of mine.
Oh,
and I don't have a backup either. So.
I'll
tell you what, this is why we should discuss
the unpredictability is good. I like it. Well, we'll tie it in as well there. Yeah. I mentioned last week that this iteration of the Suns, it almost feels like last chance saloon a little bit. By the time the playoffs roll around this season, CP3 will be 38 years old. And having never won a title, it's kind of that one asterisk hanging over his head a little bit. For as incredible player as he is, the records, the accolades, everything else, that's kind of the one thing that's eluded him so far.
For sure.
For Booker, will he grow tiresome of being that number one guy and not seeing rewards from it? I think having an aggressive Ayton, I spoke about this last week, is key. But given their team, are they good enough? I just don't think they're good enough. I think health is a massive, massive concern. As we said, Chris Paul's not getting any younger. Devin Booker currently on the sidelines
for sure
at the moment. Can this team still do some damage? And like, if it doesn't eventuate this year, I don't see them getting back to a title contending position over the coming years. I think the West is too strong. And, I think over the last 2 years, in particular, probably last year, they've really bottled it, bottled their opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah.
As I said, this is pretty much last chance saloon, I think, for this iteration of the team.
If we're talking about the Suns as a whole, and I'll talk about Devin Booker a bit later, what's not on their side right now is health. Obviously, D-Book's been out a while, and they've had other injuries too. They've had like Landry Shamet, Cam Johnson out.
Chris Paul's been out.
DeAndre
Ayton missed the other day with a un-COVID-like sickness.
DeAndre Ayton wishes he was out.
Like, that's health.
What did I just say?
DeAndre Ayton.
I did say yeah, no, sorry. I was like,
sorry.
Oh, no, you're right.
Health obviously isn't on their side yet. And I think what else they need is another scorer, not an all-out 30-point plus per game scorer. But I think the Jay Crowder not playing is making a bit of an impact.
He's got to be dealt.
He's got to be dealt.
Is he not dealt yet?
That is a must.
I thought he had to have been dealt by now.
That's
still hanging around.
He was their kind of spot-up shooter, and I think it's hurting them a little bit. Them going. I saw someone say Kelly Oubre Jr. might be a good fit, where he can
come home.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it either. I think they just need some scoring. D-Book, I think he was my person under pressure. He is the guy that kind of He needs to come out of this injury and just be almost a superstar, I'd say. And I mean, he was looking like it before they went
playing at an
down.
all NBA level prior to the injury, wasn't he? And you know, he's a 30-point per game scorer. We know what he can do.
27, 4, and 5 he was averaging before he went down.
Yep.
Early December, they were 15 wins, 6 losses.
Yeah.
And
it kind of looked like they were really going to make a push again, doesn't it? And it has been quite a severe drop-off. And I said, you know, I take it back to the podcast the other night with the lads from the Fifth and Dribble. I said one of my bold predictions was I don't think the Suns will even make the play-in.
Yeah, I mean...
You know, given how close it is, slightly biased. I have more faith in the Lakers. I'm even buying OKC more so at the moment. Like it's just that tight in the standings. You know, a poor week here and a poor week there, and you slip out very quickly. Does anyone know what the time frame on Booker is at the moment?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll tell you what, they'd be wanting to get him back ASAP because without him, they're in a lot of strife, to be honest with you. Quick question. Do you think that the Suns' fall from grace has been more so personnel, or has it been more so sort of lack of team chemistry and overall like vibe with one another that they had last season, which proved to be really successful during the regular season?
I think it was a lack of moves, to be honest, from when they made the finals. And I've said this before, they just sat on their hands when they had the picks and they had the assets to be better. That's when you try to get better.
So complacency almost, to be like, oh, we think we're good enough still.
Surely they couldn't have thought that once they got absolutely railed by Dallas.
You would think not, hey, but like as Lee said, they didn't make any moves, so they must have thought, oh, well,
another loss to Dallas earlier today, a Luka Doncic-less Dallas, mind you. He went down in the first couple of minutes here. I know the Suns didn't have Booker, but they certainly have their number at the moment, the Mavs.
They do, yeah.
They couldn't have thought that. I think it...
But that's what it comes down to. That's the downfall, their lack of moves.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I think it's this season, certainly personnel. I saw a graphic today. I don't have the exact numbers off the top of the dome to quite lay there. The wins and the point differential, especially on the offensive end when Booker's in and when Booker's out. And their offense when he's out of the team is just... It's a far cry from when he's in it. It's just leaps and bounds. And understandable, you're taking an all-NBA quality player out of the rotation there. I don't think they're good enough. Do you, like, in terms of them moving forward this season, as I said, it's a bold prediction. I don't see them making the playoffs. I think realistically they're in the play-in picture. I probably don't see them getting out of the plane.
They're just so easy to figure out. They're so easy to figure out. I mean, you double team Booker and you leave the other players to shoot, and they can't be relied on.
Are they a playoff team, Lee, for you?
They're definitely a play-in team, I'd say.
They're making the play-in.
I don't know about playoffs.
So you reckon they get knocked out in the play-in?
I would.
Good teams in there.
I would say they. Oh God, actually, I don't know.
So let's just hypothetically, as things stand today. Now, there's still a lot of action still to unfold within the season. But if things were to end today, the Suns currently sit 7th with a 25-25 record. They would play the Warriors in a one-game series. I take the Warriors every day of the week
in playoff settings. Yes. Yep.
They would then play the winner of Minnesota and Utah.
No, I think they win.
Based off that, I think they make the playoffs.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Granted, OKC, Portland, and the Lakers are hot on their heels for those playing spots at the moment. Between 7th and 13th, there's only a game and a half separating them at the moment.
Jam, isn't it?
So really, as I said, a good week here and a bad week there is all the difference at the moment.
Never has someone lost so much mojo as the Suns than Austin Powers back in the early 2000s. Real ones know.
Groovy, baby. Austin Powers, what a weapon. I'll tell you what an interesting kind of set of movies they are. Like, has there ever been a character that's like more quirky?
I don't know. Probably not.
Quirky.
Talked about like an underrated series. Like, I don't know what the box office numbers were, but I reckon that's one of the best series of all time, to be honest with you.
What?
Wow.
Really?
Comedy series, absolutely. No doubt.
comedy series. I'm just
Maybe
trying
it's an acquired taste, actually, because as you said, he's a quirky character. So
yeah,
maybe
you
it
see,
takes a special kind of person.
there were moments I enjoyed, moments where I thought this is just a hard watch, but
that's the whole point of it. It's meant to be a hard watch.
It's true.
It's like
indeed.
quirky James Bond.
Quirky James Bond.
James Bond.
That's the review. Yeah, I like that, to be honest with you.
Quirky James. So if you were to see someone they didn't know Austin Powers, that's
That's
how
how
you'd put
I
it.
mean, they'd have to have seen James
Quirky
Bond,
James Bond
for them to get it. So
I don't mind that. That's a
Yeah.
pretty accurate description there in a couple
Off
of
the
words.
dome.
Fair play off the dome.
He's happy with his own
That's where
work.
your best
You
work
can-
comes from,
You
Lee.
can tell he's happy because his tooth crystal's out.
Yeah, there you go. There you have it.
we've only got one more to go, right?
Well,
Yours?
I'll bring us home strong then, lads.
Please do.
My player who I think's under pressure is Joel Embiid.
Yes, I
Jojo.
like this. Yeah.
Why Joel Embiid and not James Harden is my question.
Well, because Embiid's been the staple mark of Philly for certainly longer than Harden. The pressure from me and Philly fans are certainly burning the hole through them, I reckon. He himself, phenomenal season again, averaging 33.5 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, a block and a half a game, and 1 steal, putting up MVP kind of stats there. And he certainly has the squad capable around him.
Mhm.
You know, it's comparable to that earlier iteration of the 76ers where there was Jimmy Butler, where there was Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, and co.
Good even mix. Yep.
It's funny to think of Jimmy Butler on that team, isn't it?
I know. And on the Wolves.
On the Wolves, Jimmy on the
Oh,
Wolves.
wow.
What taking on? What was it like? Taking the third stringers to beat the starters.
That's right.
What an incredible Jimmy in terms of Jimmy Butler stories. That's one of my favorite.
That's
Him
just-
taking third string Timberwolves players to beat the starters.
That's a thing of legend.
It doesn't get any better.
Jimmy buckets.
But Philly fans, I think, over the last couple of years, they would be very disappointed that this team haven't gone further. You know, with Embiid at the helm, they've been knocked out in multiple conference semifinals over the last 4 to 5 years. I think they've had 3 or 4 semifinal, that's the furthest they've made it, semifinal, and they've been knocked out at that point every time.
Yep.
With a player the caliber of Embiid, or at an absolute minimum, it's got to be conference finals this year. And I mean a minimum. I put them as my number 1 team. Again, I said it. I said, don't let me do it. Don't let me do it.
Yeah, don't go back on it yet.
Well, they're not going to finish first.
No,
the Celtics are running away with that, but they have been better. They've made a charge up the standings recently. What are they now? They're up to, I think, second. Yeah, they're up to second as
they're up there.
of today.
Good.
They're 2.5 games back of the Celtics. But is this like I think given the squads they've had around Embiid and Embiid himself to have not made at least a conference finals,
They have to have made a conference finals.
they must.
No, have they?
No,
not?
they haven't.
What?
I fact check it. I'm not pissing around here.
Oh, I was gonna say it's insane that they haven't made a finals yet, let alone a conference
semi-finals.
final.
You look at the Heat, Bucks, Celtics. They've kind of been the teams. Brooklyn, not so much Brooklyn, but those 3 teams have been occupying the conference finals. To have not made a conference finals, I think his ass is on fire. And I said it. Diamonds are made under pressure. The pressure on this guy. He's about to pop into a little 24-carat diamond.
It's hard because it's like, is it just a matter of Joel Embiid, for as great of a player he is, just not being good enough? Or is it the team around him? But in saying that, he's had so many different
Toronto,
teams.
that was the other one I was thinking, with the bounce Kawhi.
That's
iconic.
right.
But he's had so many different rotations around him that surely one of them's worked. And they just so is it a case of him just not being good enough?
Well, what I think it is the fact that he's elevated his game at the same time as all these other teams in the East have elevated their entire games.
Yep.
And it's just made it really difficult. To a certain extent, I feel quite sorry for Joel Embiid because, and again, it's not only this, but we look at like he didn't even make the All-Star starter pool team when any other. Like, how does that not happen when he's having this kind of season? But
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But it sort of goes back to like he can have as good of a season as he can, but there's always going to be other guys who are probably going to be just that tiny bit higher standard than him. And I think that's what's happened with the Philadelphia 76ers. Like, I think they do have a solid team, but again, this year, like, I don't see them going. I know they're second at the moment in the East, but they're credentials in playoffs doesn't fill me with enough hope to suggest that they will make the Eastern Conference Finals. But it's ridiculous to think that a player of his caliber with a team like that around him, you look at James Harden, all these other supporting pieces, haven't made the Eastern Conference Finals. It's mind-boggling.
Well, I'll ask both of you. Ro, we'll start with you, just off the back of what you just said. Yes or no? Yes or no answer. Do they make the conference finals this year?
No.
Lee, do the 76ers make the conference finals this year?
They don't, but I was just thinking how crazy, how many actual contenders are in the East? Them included, to be honest. I'd include them as a contender, but Bucks, Boston, Brooklyn, and the 76ers. Cavs, like, come on.
Cavs
like,
Heat coming back
no,
a little
not
bit as
Heat.
of late?
I wouldn't put Heat in there, not even the Cavs. But those four alone, like, two of them have got to miss out. And in my opinion, 76ers are probably one of them.
This is it. This is it. You heard it here.
Oh, bold call.
What's the time? Mark the time.
Quarter past 7.
That's not going to be on the episode. I need you to timestamp the episode. This is it. This is last chance saloon, and I mean it 100%.
How's the preamble on this bloke?
Cross my heart and hope to die. I want you to pull me up on this. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say they make at least the conference finals.
At least.
And if not, like, wipe my hands. I am done.
You said it's done with him ago.
I did.
You got the wipes out and way.
I did say that. I did say that, but don't let the truth ruin a good story.
Okay.
So who's missing out is my question.
And be very careful with your answer, Nick. Be very careful.
I'm going to say Celtics and Nets miss out. Bucks and Philly.
You're just a shit bloke.
I know.
God.
I know. And given did the Bucks make it? Yeah. I'm going to back the Bucks in. Bucks and Philly.
Bucks and Philly.
Philly, this is absolutely it. 100%. So, hold me to it. All the listeners out there, you heard it as well. So, make me accountable.
I actually like the bold call. You have to put your balls on the line for something.
Balls on the line. Often it pays off. Josh Giddey, Dyson Daniels. Often it doesn't. With coming back to the Kings the other way, getting called out for that one, having to make an apology on social media. So these are what we shoot for, lads.
We do.
There we go. There concludes our little roundup of players we think are under the most pressure at the moment. As I said, be sure to let us know what you thought about our selections. We went from an intended 6 down to 4, but that just shows how in sync we are as a team. You can't help but love that chemistry, can you?
I think so. But on the same vein, let's discuss maybe before future episodes just to avoid this issue going forward, maybe.
Let's do that.
No, let's not. I like going in blind. We got enough content.
There you go. Good stuff.
Okay.
Lads, as always, it's been a pleasure. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to the show, whether you're a viewer. Are you guys podcast viewers or listeners?
With ours, a viewer.
Oh, yeah, a bit of both. With ours, I get a hit on both. Hit on the audio version and the video version.
Well, let me just pose that to you two then, because we all like to listen back to our own work. Do you listen to it, even though we've said it, as an entertainment piece, or do you listen to it as a learning piece?
A learning piece for me. I look at
Sit
it
there
as
with a notebook and pen.
a little bit. What can we do better next time?
I still laugh at
so do I.
things you say.
It's still funny.
Entertainment and learning for me.
Entertainment and learning, the best of both worlds.
Yes.
There
Do you know what I'll do
we
sometimes?
provide here.
This is actually, I don't know if I want to say this.
Go.
It's a little bit embarrassing.
No, have at it.
Sometimes I'll say something that I think is quite funny,
And you laugh back
and I'll
at
go
it.
the -15 so we can relive it all again.
Sometimes
Anyone else or just myself?
Sometimes I will see something
I
funny.
think it's just you.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. I'll see something funny I've said and show everyone in the room.
You really hang your hat on
It's
it.
gone to another level.
I was really impressed a couple episodes ago, the Christmas episode, when you were like, "Oh, Merry Christmas to everyone," and I said, "Except the Jewish one."
I'm going to be honest.
Everyone loves that.
That got me, actually. I showed a couple of people that, and that had me in stitches.
I was hoping to leave that in the past.
In the moment, I was kind of like, oh, shit, how do we tackle this? The next words are critical here. But that had me in stitches too. So fair play.
The very makeup of the podcast
hinged on that. Hinged on that. Well, there you go. Like, if you're a watcher, subscribe on YouTube. If you're a listener, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, be sure to subscribe. Call to action this week. Guys, if you've got any friends, family, best cousins, neighbours, dog out there who likes basketball, NBA, NBL, send them our way. Get them to subscribe, listen to the show. We love having conversations with anyone and everyone, so would love to hear from some fresh faces out there.
Absolutely.
Beautiful guys. Have a fantastic week. Enjoy what's coming up very quickly to All-Star Weekend. And from myself, Lee and Roy, we can't wait to speak to you guys next week.